Hey, sir, just checking in on you.
Okay, we're just checking on Rob and Linda, I believe.
Madam President, I did call Rob and Linda, so they should be joining us shortly.
Okay, we'll give them just another minute or two. Okay, why don't we start? Can I have a motion to call the meeting to order? Motion. Second. What we're going to have to do is try to put something in chat. Did I get a motion from Sarah? And a second from?
Second.
Would I get the second from?
Scott?
Oh, I'm sorry. Cindy? Okay. So I got a motion from Sarah and a second from Cindy. Call the meeting to order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. We do have a flag, I believe, in the conference room. So if we could, we'll be out of the screen focus, but if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a notation to everybody that this meeting is going to be recorded and transcribed. The public can view the agenda and the addenda on the website. A media release was sent out for the link for people to be watching that. Board members can unmute their microphones. It is hard, though, as you just saw when we tried to just bring the meeting to order. It's probably better to use the chat to say motion and then second, and then I'll acknowledge that, so Sherry can put that in the minutes. But you can unmute or over in the chat. I have a question, I have a comment, to ensure that we all hear it, and then we move on for that. As the president, I'll make sure that we vocalize who is the motion and who is the second, so that can be transcribed. And use will be the easier way to do that. So with that, may I have a motion to consider approval of the agenda?
Ms. Berry, can we do the roll call first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, Sherry.
That's okay. Ms. Berry?
Here.
Mr. LaFountain? Mr. LaFountain?
Even just wave, Mr. LaFountain, to say you're here.
Ms. Mills,
Financial examination.
Here.
Morgan. Does it look like we have Ms. Morgan yet? Mr. Peters? Mr. Thurber?
Here.
I believe we're set with 6.
Okay, thank you. And now may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
With addenda.
With the addenda. Thank you. I believe I have Mrs. Mills as the motion and Mr. Peters as the second. So all in favor? Some sort of a signal, please. Okay, motion carried. And now consider approval of the minutes of the March 3rd, 2020 special meeting, the March 10th regular meeting, and the March 18th special meeting. May I have a motion? Okay, we have a motion from Ms. Mitchell, and we have a second from Mr. Peters. All in favor? If we can just go some kind of a hand signal so I can see that we have all in favor. Okay, all in favor? So motion carried. We have public comment. We were able to set up a Peru comments at perucsd.org, which comes directly to me. And we only had one public comment. And it was a very nice from the St. Cyr family. Is it Cyr? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. CYR. But we're grateful to everyone at the Peru schools. Your creative ingenuity in continuing delivery of lessons, information, and food is impressive, and your dedication to students and their families is much appreciated. Thank you. What I do is I respond and say thank you for your comments so that they know that I received the comment and that I did. If you need any volunteers in any way we can help during this time, please keep us in mind. So there was only one public comment. But that will be open so that that's open prior to any board meeting. We closed it at noontime today, but there was only one public comment. Okay, with that, the superintendent's report. Before the superintendent's report, I just want to say thank you to everybody, to all of the staff. If I went through and named all of the staff or their groups, I'm worried that I would miss anybody, but all the staff and especially to all the families in our district for supporting us through this pandemic. It's certainly something that none of us thought we would ever see, but we're thankful for your support and your diligent work in everything you're doing, from administrators to monitors to bus drivers to kitchen to cafeteria O&M and district office staff. And as I said, I don't want to miss anybody, teachers, teacher aides, teaching assistants, everyone. It's just an amazing effort on our part, and anything that I see or hear is very positive. So thank you very much. Looks like this is not going to end very soon. We're at May 15th, but not sure what the governor is doing right now, as it looks like he may be doing some different things in the North Country than he is doing closer to New York City. So with that, we have the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Madam President. As Ms. Berry had stated, May 15th is by the order of the governor. Is that the official date that we're still out till? We are planning, you'll hear in a few minutes of presentations by each of our building principals and our leadership team on what's been going on in our district. I figured they would do a better job showcasing some of the things that are going on. A couple of things just for the board and for the community to know. Unfortunately, as this hit on May 16th, we also have stopped the construction project, our capital project on phase 3. Some of the bids came in higher than we thought. Well, actually one bid, the primary bid for the general contractor. So we'll be going back out in the fall for that bid to see if we have a more competitive bidding piece. One of the things we'll be asking you later tonight is to accept one of the bid documents that was for the construction of the road that would wrap around our school. The other things that are going on, as you probably have seen in the media and I've shared with you, the 3 buses that we have borrowed from Beekmantown as the Board of Education, and Mr. Manning's been very gracious and allow us to use those buses. In 1 week, we're gonna evaluate the usage of those hotspots, and then we may move those based on what we get from our data. Those 3 spots at this time is at Rock's Grocery in Scarlet Falls, Yuki's Deli, and a private residence on 1731 Guide Board Road. I also put that on Twitter and tweeted that out for the community, as well as we put that on our Corona page. Without further ado, are all my administrators there? Why don't we start? Does the board have any questions or any follow-up on that before?
We have Randy's budget workshop.
Yeah, he'll be after that. Randy's the highlight.
We should have a motion and a second then, please, to move budget workshop number 4 till after the administrator reports.
Or Randy, you want to go first?
I can go after, it's fine.
He's the doom and gloom component.
You want to do it right after?
Yeah, we'll do it right.
Bonnie?
Yep, can I have, sometimes, what happens is when I do click the mute and unmute, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get that going through. So can I have a motion to move the budget workshop number 4 to after the building updates and the program updates? And it looks like I have a motion from Steve and a second by Sarah. All in favor? If you just raise your hand. Okay, and it looks like motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start with Michelle. Michelle Ross.
Hello. Tom, do you want me to, Dr. Palmer, do you want me to share my screen? Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Steve is showing Linda.
Linda.
Not sure what that.
Yeah.
See us videos or something.
See anything on the chair? Or is it-
Okay, in this presentation, I want to share what we've been doing at the primary building, where we are going during this extended building closure. School is in session, but it's not in session in the physical building space. So our philosophy as a team has been, it's really not if it can happen, it's how we can do it, and here's how we are doing it. To begin, you will notice links on the slides throughout this presentation, which can be visited by the Board of Ed members later for the sake of time. All the links throughout the presentation will direct you to the websites associated with the slide. I encourage all of you to explore these links as it shows the great dedication of work and dedication from our teachers and staff. Every week, I share video messages with students and families through email and text, and have created a YouTube channel. I meet weekly with my groups, counselors, psychologists, the BCBA, special area teachers, interventionists, pre-K and grade levels. Every week I meet several times with my faculty council, so we all stay on the same page and are connected. I'm currently convening a committee right now to look at physical space for next year and collaborate with Mrs. Devens to keep our home primary resource page updated. Our staff, Jamie Cobb and Wanda Kohler, continue to support me, the teachers, students, and families. They have assisted with packet deliveries, answering teacher and parent questions, and continue to process the pre-K applications. Our counselors, psychologists, the BCBA continue to support students and families' social emotional learning. Through YouTube teaching videos and second steps videos as well, our regular and ongoing contact with students and families, and utilization of outside resources like PSAP, BHSN, and the Backpack program. We meet weekly, and they are brainstorming upcoming topics to cover not only for the student audience, but for the parent audience as well. At the primary level, we need to provide as much teaching to parents and caregivers as we do to children, so strategies are linking up when situations arrive at home. For example, there is a video from Mrs. Crucetti teaching parents and caregivers about how to increase positive behaviors and the functions of behavior and why children do the things that they do, and some videos from Mrs. McAuliffe about stress and keeping the calm. In our pre-K, we continue to be a play-based exploration and discovery. That learning type continues. Teachers have created a YouTube channel as a resource for parents. We have regular and ongoing communication with students and families. A weekly newsletter, and they are currently designing a unit study on gardening. This interactive unit included us sending seeds through the mail to children, which corresponds with the YouTube activities created by our pre-K teachers. In our K2, we continue to provide educational learning opportunities in ELA, math, writing, science, and social studies. Hard copy packets are delivered to all students in K and 1, and upon request, the second graders. Some classrooms are piloting Moby Max. We have weekly grade level meetings, interactive Google Chats with students, daily contact with students through a variety of platforms. Video lessons are taught and shared weekly through assignments given with a week turnaround so families can plan for that. Supports given to parents and students. We have book read aloud, videos by teachers, and we keep a contact log. And just to give you a little information on Moby Max, it's an online learning platform that ranges from K through 8 grades. It's adaptive learning. It goes from early learning to algebra. It covers formative assessment, benchmark assessments, and it provides adaptive practice to classroom games. It uses the baseline to determine where students are and provides students with independent instructional level lessons that are adapted to that student's needs, which is comprehensive of math, reading, writing, science, and social studies. We have regular and ongoing collaboration virtually, as you can see here, with their Zoom and Google Meets. Our interventionists are working hard to create teaching videos to support students and families. They've created video screencasts of quick drills, which is that quick practice that we do at school every day. And they all have regular ongoing contact with students and families. Some of our interventionists are piloting Moby Max as well to see if we can help expedite student achievement. In our special areas, teachers share out daily schedules to students in the morning message. This student's mom shared here in the right corner right here. This student's mom wrote that since today was PE, we figured a time for a 3-hour hike to Point of Rush. Liam did 3 chairs for a total of 5.8 miles, following social distancing guidelines, of course. PE teachers are also creating warm-up videos and video lessons to be shared on their website as well. Library teacher Ms. Weiss has set up an extended learning website and YouTube channel for pre-K through 5. She reads aloud to students through video and has organized a collection of resources to be accessed at home. In our pre-K 5 technology teacher Steph Petro has created an extensive list of technology resources and lessons, which is organized by grade level pre-K through 5. Some of the screenshots show what students see when they click on their grade level. The K-5 music department shares many resources as well. They have teaching videos, a Play It Forward music challenge where students are encouraged to share creative ways to share music during this closure and create positivity through music. The pre-K art department has done a beautiful job encouraging the share of art on their website as well. They have a self-portrait activity for students, which some students have shared their work, shown here in the lower left corner of the screen. They have remote drawing prompts. Students' work is shared here in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. They are planning a virtual art show as well. Hard copies and resources were mailed for the special areas to all of the pre-K through 2. To continue with our positive school culture, the Spirit Committee led a primary virtual Spirit Week. Each day there was a theme and parents shared photos of their children participating. We had a blue and white day, read your favorite book with a buddy day, dress wacky, hat day, and sports day. Here's some more pictures of our virtual Spirit Week. Families even participated in our virtual Spirit Week and shared photos with us. Here, there's an art science connection, and parents had shared some photos of their children and the work that they had created. So here, the art department has shared some of their photos, and Art Meets Science. Our building goal of students will master their grade level math fact continues. Timothy, a kindergarten student, was our first student to earn his math fact master medal while learning from home. He is now working on his first grade math facts. After posting Timothy's accomplishments on our social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook, the request for the math criteria and hard copies started rolling in. Since then, we've had several students that have met their math fact goals and earned their math medals. Math medals are sent on the morning meal bus delivery. And here you'll see some students who've earned their math medals. We have the little boy in the lower right-hand corner of the screen who is working on his third grade math facts at this point in time. More math recipients. Alex Freitas, his mom had shared that you have no idea how happy this little boy was receiving his math medal today. We're going back to subtraction tomorrow. In the middle, Logan's mom writes, Mrs. Murphy, we are also proud of Logan earning his math medal for addition. I love that Peru school does this. It's a great way to encourage kids to keep learning. And Lydia Johnson's mom writes, thank you for still making this possible for our children. She was so excited to receive her medal today. Our nurses continue to provide health and wellness support to our families and students through the backpack program, student and family contact, referral for families to outside resources, and health and safety educations in social media posts. Our backpack coordinators are Reagan Finlaw, Kathy Bedard, and Catherine Sample. Our elementary backpack program is running. We're servicing 60 families, which is our full capacity. We've recently had the addition of frozen food added at free of charge to our program. There was no cost to us. Dr. Palmer and his family picked up the first shipment of 2,500 pounds of food so that the children could start receiving those shipments weekly in the month of April. And a story behind that is once he arrived to pick up Peru's food, the 18-wheeler had not been unloaded. So we actually unpacked about 5,000 pounds of food to get to our food. And linked in this slide, you'll see that there's a Peru primary family video, which was created by Mrs. Matthews. She did a beautiful job. She coordinated it, and every team member contributed photos, and this was sent to families. And to sum it up, it is a team equals the sum of all parts, and we are in this together. And when I reflected on my video and what Peru means in this time, it means perseverance, it means excellence, it means resilience, and it means unity. And so, are there any questions?
No, thank you very much, Michelle. Excellent. And a great team effort.
Board members are
You're
good?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Gigi?
we're moving on. Moving on to 3.5, Gigi.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Good. It's great to see you all. Let me see if I can do a present my screen to you. All right. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I just want to tell you all have at me. My name is Gigi Mason. I've been the interim principal at Peru Intermediate since February 3rd. Since this time, I've been simply overwhelmed with support from the entire Peru community. I'd like to thank my colleagues and especially Dr. Palmer for their support and guidance during this time. I'm so excited to share some of the stories and highlights from the intermediate school during the closure. I wish I could share everyone's stories of support, but in the interest of time, I can only share a sliver of what's happening. Our biggest challenge has been how to continue to connect with students and families remotely. One of the most heartwarming and unanticipated outcomes of the virus has been the strong relationships developing between teachers and families. At the third grade level, we depend a great deal on parents to relay and assist in teaching. Connections have happened in a variety of ways, including pictures of work, visits while distancing, and virtual meetings like Google Meet. Like third grade, fourth grade has worked first to establish connections and communication with families. Instructional delivery has been mixed at this level. It combines paper and pencil and texts with some online instruction. Teachers at this level have also kept in good communication with students by driving to their homes and chatting at a safe distance. For example, Mrs. Fordham writes that she has been conducting drive-up visits to check in on her students. Over Google Meet, students have been extremely excited to see their teachers and their friends and to show off their rooms and pets and siblings. Teachers feel that although they can't see their students in person, they are getting to know them in ways that they never would have been able to prior to the close. At the fifth grade level, most instruction is taking place online. Teacher counts. Teachers have also focused on allowing students to have time with each other over Google Meet. At this level, students have been introduced to a variety of online school tools, Flip, Screencast, Zoom, and Google Meet. A little more assistance in ELA and or math. They've been pushing into Google Meet sessions with Classroom Teacher, as well as making their own calls in Google Meet sessions. They have adopted MobiMax to work with this population for the rest of the year. As Mrs. Rawson previously stated, the strength of MobiMax is that it individually assesses each student and then designs lessons at the student's instructional level. This is especially helpful for this student population that needs instruction that is different from their grade level. They are also combining with some paper and pencil work with students who do not have technology access. Counselors and psychologists continue to see students during this time through various means of teletherapy. They're also posting activities and resources on their website that have quick links on both the primary and intermediate Peru Central School website pages. These professionals continue to take referrals, and to help families as needed. Counselors have also been assisting family members and colleagues who have needed emotional support during this unprecedented time. Our intermediate PE teachers have developed a website. I've shared the link on this slide. Students are encouraged to stay active during this time, and pictures and stories are posted to the website. Students are invited to follow their dream calendar, drop everything, and move. Mrs. Rawson already spoke to these special areas in her presentation. I'm just including some pictures of these activities from the intermediate level. Our special area teachers rely heavily on their websites to reach out to students because they need to communicate with hundreds of students. I'd like to end my presentation with a couple of feel-good stories to help to personalize the closure experience for all of you. First is Words from the Woods Poetry Contest from the Lake Placid Institute. We recently learned that there are 3 winners from our school who have received a certificate and will have their poems published by the Institute in a booklet. We're very excited and proud of these kids. We usually have a talent show in our school in the spring. 5th grade decided to do a talent show through Flipgrid, where the students submitted and then viewed videos of their various talents. This was so adorable and really fun. And finally, for my last feel good tonight, I want to tell you about our awesome tech department of Stephanie Petro and John Mitchell. They've developed a great way to combine teaching social emotional skills, problem-solving skills, and digital citizenship through the exceedingly popular Minecraft game. They've established hour-long cycles with different groups of kids each week. I hope that you'll take a peek when you get an opportunity to do that. Thanks very much. Do you have any questions?
No questions, Bonnie?
A little while to unmute here. No questions, but thank you. I was very pleased to go, on our Google Drive and review all of these this afternoon. And just fantastic work on all parts of all the different schools. So thank you.
Thank you, JJ. All right, Scott, are you there?
Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well and everyone's still feeling well. I'll work on sharing my screen. Just one second.
Just to let the board know also that 5th grade, we were originally 6 through 12 with the one-to-one devices. With Gigi's guidance and with Nick's support, we're able to put Chromebooks also in all of our 5th grade hands. So we took that also down to the 5th grade level. So now we're serving one-to-one devices 5 through 12, just to let the board know.
Sadly, mine's not responding right now. It's going into a non-responding mode. It didn't do that earlier today.
Scott, do you want us, we'll move on to Matt right now, maybe go back to you? Matt, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did you want to move forward? Scott's struggling a little bit with technology, not him,
If
but.
that allows for
technology.
everything to move along smoother, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, we'll go
Scott,
back to him.
Okay, I will present my screen. And I believe everybody should have my screen at this point. Okay. So in the high school, as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, we've experienced this challenge as to how we're accustomed to teaching, learning, and simply just being. Nevertheless, with all the challenges come response. I'm very proud to share the responses from our high school team. And before I go on, I can say that my daughter Violet was on the Minecraft activities today with Mr. Mitchell, and she loved it, and it was really cool. So just to piggyback off of what the last thing we kind of heard in the last presentation. As we look at this COVID-19 challenge, something that, I think we all, if we were to take a moment and reflect on it, we've never seen anything like it. I tried to make a comparison to students that for me as a young 21-year-old teacher at Beekmantown, I compared it to my experiences with the attacks on the World Trade Center, but still it's way different. I think we knew what the answer was then as to how to move forward, as to how to answer that one. This one's much more complicated. So there's been obvious challenges, new forms of communication, social, emotional wellness, learning challenges, differing levels of student engagement, and then obviously the unknown. And I think that for us as a high school has been the thing that has weighed on us the most, is when we do not hear from our kids, and we've gone to the 5th contact on our contact list. We've even tried to drive by and see if we could get any attention at all. These are just some of the challenges that we faced. Now add in Carnegie Credit, our Clinton Community CAP courses, our AP courses, Regents exam, grading, honors, awards, sports, the arts. These challenges weigh heavily on the high school, coupled with a little bit of limited guidance from the state level. It was alluded to earlier that we have a May 15th date. However, if you weigh in everything you see in here, I think that's really hard to make concrete. So the frustration is real. There are some unanswered questions. However, there are some great fundamental learning responses and communication that have come out of this. And we're trying to, as a high school, get behind two things. We're going to find the silver lining in this. This has forced us to do things differently, but some of those different things that have emerged are things that we can use when, whenever that is, we go back to what is known as our former normal. And we also, as a high school, have gotten behind these 3 terms that we did not coin as a high school. It did come from CV Tech and Michelle Friedman, but we've really gotten behind prioritizing, consolidating, and simplifying. Prioritizing our needs in the high school, whether it be our competencies within our classrooms, consolidating what we need, and then simplifying how we deliver it. As I think the more complicated you try to make online learning, which would not be possible without one-to-one devices, as was just mentioned. So that is very thankful. We do have some gaps in the internet service that was Dr. Palmer talked about earlier, but I think we're really tightening those gaps, and Mr. Batten, when he comes on in a little bit, will be able to speak to that point. So where did we start? Every student, so on March 15th, when we were not allowed to have students in our school, we met as departments, and every teacher started a Google Classroom. So we've been in this delivery of instruction for quite a while, and I think people are getting very, very used to it. So the fundamentals, the Google Classroom, all teachers were to create a Google Classroom and teach remotely through this avenue. There's been a learning curve, but troubleshooting issues have been successful in the high school. Mr. Damiani, Ms. Miller, and the NARIC team have been accommodating to help troubleshoot. If we send an email in the middle of the day, it gets answered, and we're able to work through things with Nick, with Julia and Shane, Jared, and just our questions are answered very quickly. So that technological support has been impressive from those people. Some perspective here. Our students have only had these devices since January and have been totally forced to totally rely on it. I am very impressed by the majority of our students' resolve. We have some issues with connecting and as we go on to the next slide, reaching them all, the old school, the new school, and somewhere in the middle. So what you'll see here, just quick snippets, this is a teacher's living room and a table, and you see her collie right here. It's Miss Butts, collie. She's made piles of work, and these piles of work, and you can't really see this sheet. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong, I have two screens going, excuse me. To go back to the Google Classroom, you can see on these places where each teacher has the Google Classroom for remote learning. I don't want to repeat myself there. My apologies for getting lost. I have two screens going on. So next, the old school, the new school, and somewhere in the middle. Like I said, here's Miss Butt's collie. This is her living room and her piles of work and our labeling sheets for our bus delivery, which has been impressive to say the least. If you were to watch the buses go out, I watch them from my office, and it is literally clockwork and one of the most efficient systems I've seen, just, you know, having to do it in the throes of the moment. So we have the old school, then we'll skip to the new school here. If you see my cursor, this is actually a program that Mrs. Batten uses that she can see her students do the math in real time, and she can actually interact with her students. Our math department is using this. So this would be some of the most cutting edge technology out there, as you can talk, intervene, watch your students act in the you know, the heat in real time, and be able to assess their progress. And then, you know, purposely put here in the middle, somewhere in the middle, we have USB drives going out to our students if they are needed, if that's the preferred method, as we move through all of this. Our academic challenges are not simple in the high school. However, I think we have some good plans in place. The COVID-19 shutdown has increased academic anxiety. However, I commend our partnerships with the College Board of AP and Clinton Community, as they've made it possible to give kids an opportunity to obtain the college credits they signed up for. Just to skip down to the bottom of this, guidance through Dr. Koala at Clinton Community College. Students will still be able to meet the criteria. I actually met with Matt Armstrong a few hours ago. He is our CAP coordinator, and we have a good plan for students. They're going to be able to take our local final and still have a chance to earn the college credit that they signed up for, and that's due to the good partnership that we have with that college. AP was probably, College Board and AP was probably the most upfront and on being able to give instruction to students, meaning they came out 2 weeks ago and said, we're going to do things online. Here are the dates and times of these things. We are changing our format of exams, and we'll be able to deliver these exams to our students. As you know, there are no Regents exams. There's a lot that goes with that. That was a very lengthy document that came out when they did pull the Regents exams, as I'm kind of moving up here from the bottom. Our fourth quarter grading update came out. You can click on that at your leisure to read through it. And in our third quarter, our system did not harm any students since the March 13th shutdown. They could only grow their grade. However, moving into the fourth, we do have a system that meets, that allows students to both grow their grade and then not be punished for not having the privilege of the internet, not having the ability to access things that other students may need to access. And then at this point, I will turn this over to Mr. Batten, as he took an idea from a teacher and put it into hyper mode. So if I can have Mr. Batten speak to this slide, I would defer to him now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry, and good evening, everybody. Is my microphone working? Okay, good. So one of the things we wanted to make sure we were doing in the high school is maintaining that very important connection with all of our students. And most importantly, that we were not significantly duplicating a lot of efforts. And that's one of those simplify and consolidate concepts. And also be very certain that absolutely nobody got missed, and there was a connection with everybody. So one of our teachers had come up with an idea, and we took that idea and basically put it across the entire building. and developed a system using spreadsheets that are shared in a shared Google Drive so that teachers are each assigned to 10 students that they have a connection with, and they make contact with each of those students one time per week. And the connection or the contact is really intended to be, how are you doing? What's going on? Are there any special circumstances that we should know about? Is there anything that you need from us? But there's also access for those teachers to have to see how they're doing academically. So they, I can tell you, I have a couple of kids that I do have contact with. I'm the point person for. I reach out to them, focus mostly on their overall well-being, but do, in some cases, talk about academics as well, and just find out, is there a reason why something is or isn't getting done? Is there something that we can do? And then we make notes in that center section that says contact. Classroom teachers can then reference that and find out, is there a reason why all of a sudden something has dropped off? And then those point people in turn have access to the academic side of things through School Tool, and we've come up with a coding system to not give kids zeros, but to indicate work was turned in but not graded yet, or it wasn't turned in, or a variety of other possibilities. So that's how we are breaking down the work and making sure that every single student in the high school has contact with. That's how we are breaking down the work and making
Thank you, Mr. Batten. I go on to the next slide, and I love this, this just simple quote over here on the side. It's a Google search. The first thing that comes up, social emotional health and education. The first thing that comes up when it comes to learning social emotional health is a prerequisite. And we've been doing virtual circles with staff and students. I've been going live with classes myself. So almost all of our teachers have been going live in some way, shape, or form. Last week was Wellness Week, where we had, we put our efforts into solidarity movements for the high school and things that would foster social emotional health, career exploration. Constant counselor contact. If we were to take and keep track of the calls and emails and back and forth connections, it would be quite an extensive list. Mr. Batten just alluded to the point teacher system, which many hands make for an easier lift, and that's one of Mr. Batten's mantras, and he really put that thing forward and teachers have had, at first, were really kind of questioning what we were doing, but realized now, I think, for the most part, that this is the way to go. Constant parent contact. Social Sentinel has allowed us to intervene in a couple of situations that needed to have intervention, and we are certainly coupling and doubling our efforts with our outside agencies when it comes to social emotional health. BHSN, Clinton County Family Center, we are in close contact with them, and our connection through social services with the students who need that extra support. This slide is kind of funny. If you want a quick laugh, look at my face in the still shots. It's really kind of funny. However, I can tell you when this whole thing started, I didn't really realize the magnitude. I don't think anybody really did. But I've taken it upon myself to create daily updates for teachers and students. Very similar messages, so we're speaking the same language. I added an end of the week update that goes to parents. I've gotten great feedback. I enjoy doing it. I will share, I committed to this when I was not so sure how long this was going to be. It seemed like it was going to be manageable. I get tired sometimes. I realize that my message might not have power, as much power as a previous message, but nevertheless, I want to try to model grit for the student body. And like I said, I enjoyed it, but I did learn zeal through all of this and to have a little bit more perspective, as it is a lot. However, I do think the feedback I've gotten from it is well worth the effort. And then lastly, ending on the gallery of solidarity, I apologize for the different fonts you may see here, but these are some things that are really cool efforts from our student and our teachers. as we went through Wellness Week, but not only that, just because people wanting to do this, just because it's a good thing to do and necessary. But that's what we're doing in the high school. I hope that answers any questions. And if you have any extra questions, I am here to answer.
Madam President, any questions?
Just trying to unmute, okay? I don't, no questions. I did go to that last page today and went on a couple of things with the students with the hyperlinks, and they were fantastic. I said, shows a lot of solidarity, and I thank you. So now we'll try Mr. Storms, maybe?
Here's hoping. We'll see if it'll work this time. Right now I've got weird pictures of all of you, but we'll try.
I think you froze again, Mr. Storms.
Okay, so this is the middle school has done an outstanding job in embracing remote learning in a very short window that we had to implement a plan. A great deal of coordination was put into place to ensure that our students were ready for the remote learning. And as you know, middle school students may not always be the most organized, but we did a lot of work to ensure that they were organized. We had many students that had brought their Chromebooks and were told to bring their Chromebooks home. Had some of them left in lockers, and we definitely had to do some work in getting into lockers and finding Chromebooks and cords and those kind of things, even after a good conversation with most of our kids. In phase one of our implementation, Peru Middle School ended up doing our phase one was remote learning. It started on March 16th for our students with internet access, and later in the week for students who needed paper packets, which was delivered during our lunch drop-off. Computer-based instruction was truly new to many of our students. As sixth and eighth graders just received their school-issued Chromebooks in January, not all the teachers were using Google Classroom on a regular basis. So our original timeline had us out of school for 2 weeks. The first phase was designed to review and maintenance of previously taught skills. We aim to instruct students in how to reach higher levels of independence as well as better understanding of the technology. In an effort to establish a remote learning environment, I provided the students with a daily principals update. A message was sent to their individual school emails, and students were required to go to one of two grade level emergency classrooms each day. Emergency A and Emergency B. Emergency A was designed to be classrooms of their core classes, and Emergency B were the other areas like technology, physical education, those types of things. Students were required to select 2 activities of their choice each day to complete. Staff were required to respond to students' submissions, providing feedback and guidance on the students' work. And they also had time this was really a great time for reconnecting with the students. This is a scary time for the students. It was interesting that we do a lot of Google Meets. I've done many of them, and so has Mary. And we've actually seen where kids are kids will express to you that they're a little nervous about this and a little scared. Peru Middle School enrollment of 435, we had about 424 students using Chromebooks for remote learning. It was a challenge, but that's where we were. Phase one had been used the time to really engage the students in feeling comfortable with the expectations. It also it's been a learning curve for us. And out of the 11 students without internet, we established ways of getting materials back from the students. Students and families emailed pictures of work to their teachers, and the assignments were graded. We also implemented student contact logs to ensure that the middle school students had staff people to talk to each day. So what was really important in the beginning, we reached out quite a bit. We were working to make sure our students were having that personal contact of our teachers, and everyone took a student. So each grade level divided the students up. As you can see in this slide, Peru Middle School staff has implemented a variety of tools to engage our students. These tools will support our staff in moving forward with phase two of our remote learning plan. The platforms will help us advance the implementation of the curriculum from review to new content. You can see they've used things like Padlet, Flipped Grid, Class Dojo, Remind, Edpuzzle, Canvases, Kami, ReadWorks, Kahoot, and many others. I'll say that, but these were some of the ones we surveyed our staff, and those were some of the ones that they've done. So those have been been very successful as well. The daily updates are shared out on YouTube. So Mrs. Sexton and I both done them. I do one every morning for the students now. But the daily updates, this is an additional way to ensure that our students are connected to the school, and that we'll use the same model in phase two, which we started this week. In phase two, I provide the morning message, so it's out in the morning for each grade level, so they know what is their schedule for the day. And also I put announcements in there about meetings I'm having with students, as well as their parent meetings as well. Last week, originally scheduled to be our spring break, we transitioned students to phase two of our remote learning plan, consisting of new curriculum. Students continued to work from their grade level Google Classrooms on spring bridge activities. These activities engage the students in the use of technology while incorporating home and family activities. Students are required to check their email 3 times a day, which is in a middle school is quite a challenge. They'll tell you, well, I checked it already, but the important part was we wanted them to check their email throughout the day, multiple times a day. That also gives us an opportunity to share things with them. They send pictures and emails and videos to their teachers while using the Google Classroom. This was an opportunity for our teachers really to have the students engage a little bit more with technology. Again, they weren't as comfortable with it as they would have if we'd had the computers a little bit longer, but what an outstanding job they've done. The fourth quarter for our students started yesterday, April 20th. Students are engaged in a modified rotating schedule. Students are completing three to five classes each day. In addition to the schedule, the students will have Google Meetups with their teachers. And those are opportunities not only to do some teaching, but also to check in with the kids. The schedule is shared through video message each morning, like I said before, by me. And the slide, this slide has a video that I shared with the students, and it actually shows their schedule. So after I'm done, you'll have an opportunity, if you are interested, you can go and take a look at some of the different clips in this presentation. There's a silver lining in this, I think. The emergency in this emergency closure, students are learning and organizing and have learned organizational skills, time management, educational independence, and we redefined life skills. Students need to really use their technology in other ways than just watching and playing video games. Very proud of the teachers and their creativity and the various ways they've enhanced the delivery of curriculum to our students. Many of the Peru middle school staff have worked well beyond the contracted school day to provide the very best for our students, and we'll be sure that our students have trusted adults that are concerned about them and to connect with them. This slide is some more great examples of creativity and commitment of our students and our teachers, and I hope that you take a moment to watch these examples. Also, throughout the slides, you'll find examples of remote learning and connections. Just so you know, I do have some examples here of the kids actually working with teachers, and I just wanted to let you know I did contact all the parents and the teachers before sharing it with anyone, and they were more than happy to share with all of you tonight. Do you have any questions for me?
No?
Any questions? No?
No, I don't think any questions. I did look at some of the links again. See, now I have lots of time to look at these things. I don't have any students that I'm teaching or anything. The links are very amazing. I love the art gallery, and the little dance was great. What I do like is on that the Corona link, some of your YouTube, every school has a YouTube pieces up, and love to see those kept current so that board members could go on and just take a glance at those every once in a while. It gives us kind of an insight as to what you're doing. So thank you all.
All right, so besides in this crazy time that we're in, and it's all hands on deck, and people do a lot of different things. One of the things that Amy Campbell, besides Director of Curriculum, working with our administrators the entire time on the curricular piece and having conversations about that, Amy's also took it upon herself to assist us in the bus operations. And so, Amy, are you there?
I am here.
Amy, without further ado, I'll let you share a little bit with the detailed information about the busing, because it's a quite a venture and you guys have done a great job.
Yeah, let me just pull up my quick presentation so I don't mess up the numbers. Let's see what I want to do. Okay, can everyone hear me? All right. So let me so I think what I really want to stress is how much of a pleasure it's been for me in my position with curriculum and instruction. I work really closely with the principals and the teachers. So this has given me a great opportunity to get to know some of the other staff that work in the Peru Central School District. And it's just been an amazing experience to watch how committed and devoted they are to the wonderful things that they're able to contribute at school and with everything that we're doing right now. I do want to say curriculum and instruction is still moving on. It just looks a little different. And as a result, I felt that, for me to be able to really contribute and help, I just wanted to do something related to one of the other essential pieces we need to provide, and that's feeding our children. And I think prior to this, anyone you talk to, this is one of the first things they would mention. How do we make sure our children still get fed? Because so many people rely on school meals during the school year as part of their children's daily routine. So I think Matt alluded to it. We really have a great routine. Our first delivery started on March 19th. It's been a growing system. We have breakfast and lunch delivered every day, Monday through Friday. And then to accommodate the week formerly known as spring break, we made some adjustments. So on Thursday, April 9th, we delivered 3 days worth of meals. And then on Tuesday, April 14th, we delivered 2 days worth of meals. And then on the 16th, we delivered 2 days worth of meals. And then Monday, we went back to our established routine. When we started this, we were lining all of the buses up at the intermediate loop, and now we actually are loading buses from the intermediate cafeteria door and the high school cafeteria door, and it's working really well. I can't say enough about how great Janine Kerr and Dave Wagner have been in working with their staff, working together. It's really been a nice team. We often touch base each day, just how did it go? And as a result, as we've come through to where we are now, this week 6 already, we really have a great, just a great system that they have down. And so our essential staff, I will say that very early on, one of the first days we were delivering meals, I overheard a conversation between some of our aides, and they were talking about the fact of how wonderful it feels to be considered essential. Sometimes in the work that they do in school, they don't always feel that they're appreciated. They are. We all know that they're completely appreciated, but they don't necessarily feel it. So for them to be told they were essential and we needed them to deliver this food has really made a difference. Our bus drivers, a phenomenal group of men and women who are so proud to get out there every day. I'm sure you may have also seen the story. Not only are we bringing food to our students, but our staff does not stop simply because it's not a school issue. So we had a bus driver who, through this process, saw another family that was not able to leave their home, needed to get a meal, contacted the Peru town supervisor, and through that whole process was able to get that family food. In addition, we had some of our aides and bus personnel who went out and personally bought groceries for this family and brought it back to them. So just really amazing, kudos to them. Our food service people have been phenomenal. When you think they are working probably the longest hours right now to make sure that all the food is properly packed, they take a lot of pride in the meals that they're making, and it's been wonderful. Our aides and monitors, usually their reward comes from working with individual students and the classrooms that they're working in, and so now they're able to contribute in this larger way. We've also, Dave Wagner and I were talking about it today, how much we've seen a growth of camaraderie between these different groups of people who are usually kind of isolated in their own. So they either drive a bus, or they're an aide in the school, or they're working in the cafeteria. And now these groups are all cross mingling, and they're really getting to know each other. And it's just been really neat to see that. And then in addition to that, our permanent building subs who still are employed by us, but don't have any, can't necessarily provide remote instruction because all of our teachers are involved in that. So they've been assisting, done a phenomenal job in the cafeterias and in the on the buses. It's just been really great. So as of April 17th, we had delivered 33,110 meals. So that breaks down to 16,555 breakfasts and 16,555 lunches. We've had on average 747 meals delivered each day from March 19th to April 17th, which is approximately 42% of all Peru Central School District students are receiving meals. And I do want to point out that we delivered almost, over 4,656 meals on just one day on April 9th as a result of having to deliver the 3 days at one time. And we also deliver academic materials as needed, and that system has worked out really well. We appreciate all the office staff and the teachers and the work they do labeling everything. It's just been such a phenomenally rewarding experience to work with all of these people and help get these meals out every day. And we've seen appreciative responses and thanks from people. And I do want to just add too, as part of my other job, I do work with the technology department. And so just to add to that, a big shout out to Nick Damiani and Julia Miller and John Mitchell, who I think someone said earlier they're available anytime you call, and I know a lot of people think that's during the school day, but I can tell you it's anytime. Especially in the first few weeks, they were working 7 days a week, any hour of the day that somebody needed them. Well, maybe not, 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning, although maybe someone was up at that time too. But they were really, they've just been phenomenal, and how receptive our teaching staff has been to getting that technology support and help has been really great. And the learning curve, to watch how quickly people have got on board with these digital tools and how much the students have adapted to that has really been quite phenomenal. So if anyone has any questions for me.
Shannon, is there anything that you want to add coming out of the Director of Pupil Personnel Services?
Yes. Can everybody hear me? So I'm hoping I get Are you able to see this? Not yet. Oh, try it this way. To see this answer verbally.
Yes.
Yes.
You can see the presentation? Okay. I don't know how, because now you guys have all come back up and I can't see it. So, well, but anyways, I'm going to just get started. And let's see. So first of all, I want to say thank you for letting me talk to you tonight. And as you know, special education services about 390 students with disabilities, ages 3 through 21 in the Peru Central School District. We have students that are at home and get itinerant special education services, students at Adirondack Helping Hands, North Country Kids, CVES, and all throughout the districts receiving our services. So I thank also all of my fellow administrators who have been assisting and coordinating with me to help ensure that our students with disabilities are getting the supports they need and that our IEPs are being met in accordance with regulations. So partnering with everyone and hearing, what's going well with our building and what we need to work on, and reaching out to those teachers and service providers. I do appreciate all of that effort from my fellow administrators. So thank you. I don't know if I can switch to the next slide. There we go. So since the closure, we have been able to continue to offer the full New York State required continuum of services. We offer the self-contained programs, the ones for intensive life skills, which would be the 12-1-3-1, the 15-1, and the 12-1-1. And then we continue to offer the 8-1-1 academic behavior program. And those programs, similar programs to those, are also offered through CVES, and they have also continued with that service for us. And in the elementary, we have the integrated co-teacher program, and they're providing special education modifications and supports for the general curriculum through Google Classroom and Seesaw, as you heard earlier. In resource room programs, they continue supporting deficit skill areas, pre-teaching and reteaching of material for our students. In the middle school and the high school, we have consultant teachers, that offer special ed modifications and supports to students through Google Classroom and Google Meets and a variety of other platforms. And then we have related services such as speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and counseling that are offered to students as therapeutic supports. And so I'm very proud that we're able to offer that continuum and keep moving forward. It's definitely different to work with students with disabilities. Students with disabilities in general, they struggle with change and with learning a new platform. And so going to remote instruction was definitely a challenge for some of our students with disabilities, but I feel like they've received excellent support from our special educators in learning the platforms and finding a variety of ways to submit work and find work, and they remind them and send emails and links and everything so that they are able to participate in our general education curriculum along with their peers. And so there is equal access, which is hugely important. Okay. Oops, I think we went too far. I can't seem to get. There you go. Sorry about that. So, so that's kind of what's been going on the academic side of everything. In the office, you know, I'm a little bit more removed from the direct work with students, and so a big part of what we do in Student Services office is we have annual review meetings that plan individualized education programs. So our big annual review season is right now, actually, in March, April, and May, that's when our meetings take place. What is an annual review? It is a committee on special education that is convened to review and discuss a student's progress for the past year and to make plans for the upcoming school year. All students with disabilities must have an annual review that creates an IEP to be implemented for the start of the next school year. So there are many regulations about how an annual review can be scheduled and conducted and who is present and things that need to be discussed and just different requirements that we have to make. And so we have been able to keep going with those reviews, which I am very proud of. Let me get to the next slide. So we are making great progress in that area. I would say first, kudos to the teachers and service providers for writing and creating the IEPs and attending these virtual meetings. It is a legal mandate that certain people are there, a teacher, a psychologist, service providers, a general education teacher. And so without those meetings, they are not considered to be in compliance if we don't have all of the right members. And so we've had the right members at our meetings, and I'm very proud of that. So kudos to them for always being there when we needed them. We meet through Google Meets, and we convene as scheduled. So it is also regulation that we have to give parents prior written notice as to when a meeting will convene, and parents have the opportunity to attend and participate. And so we've been able to maintain that schedule so that we are in compliance. Again, the mandated members have been in attendance and on time and able to participate, so we're in compliance. Parents are joining through Google or by phone, whichever works best for them, and I feel like we've had excellent participation this year with that. Sometimes we have to repeat a little bit and have a little bit of patience with volume and whatnot, but it's been going very well. Any parent that has been uncomfortable with this remote meeting format can reschedule in the hopes that in June we could meet in person. I don't know if that will happen, but I definitely am going to offer it to the parents. We've had 2 families so far request that we hold off so that we could try to meet in person. And we have completed, actually this should say 21 days of meetings because I completed this last week. So we've completed a full 21 days of meetings and we have 18 days left of meetings. So we're a little better than halfway through. I'm proud to say each day consists of about 10 to 14 meetings. So they're pretty rigorous. And so I'm proud to say we've accomplished that. We're that far into this. And I would also like to say kudos to Crystal and Nina in the office for running the paperwork side of our meetings. Crystal kind of does the scheduling and all the invites and makes sure that everybody gets to the meetings. And then Nina kind of ties everything together and finalizes the IEPs and gets those mailed out for us. So those are 2 just huge jobs that they have been right up on and keeping us running. So I thank them for that. So the one thing that has changed in my office that I didn't think to write down here, but is that the federal guidance has changed because we can't evaluate new referrals at this time to classify students that might need special education supports. So that's a little bit on hold under the guidance of the federal government. So, you know, we're certainly still within compliance, but that is one change that we'll have to work on and figure out how to catch that up as time moves forward. So I guess that is how things are going with our special education department, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
No, thank you, Shannon. Complex issue with special education, and I know the guidance is coming through, and CSE chairs meet, I think, now on a weekly basis with Mr. Slattery to try to get things coordinated and in line. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Randy, you ready?
Ready for Randy?
All right. Thank you.
Is that thing pointed well, Fran?
Well, if I'm still on the microphone and trying to unmute, to mute, I mean, that's a slow process. So I don't know why it is so slow to mute or unmute.
Can everyone hear me? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, good evening and welcome. I wish I had good news, but unfortunately, we are the first presentation after COVID-19, and there's been a lot of developments since our last budget workshop, which was budget workshop number 3. So as you know, last time we met, there were some takeaway points, and every year I put a theme associated with our presentation, and at the time I had established a theme as tactical trimming. Unfortunately, what I would classify our new theme is as uncertainty. There are an extraordinary number of variables now and unknowns that really at this point do not allow us to have accurate expenditures and or revenues to move forward on the budget at this time, and I'm going to kind of explain that as we proceed this evening. Nonetheless, we will be responsible for establishing a budget at some point. We still don't know when we're going to be voting, but we have established a budget timeline, and this is significantly revised because, as you know, today actually we would be finalizing our budget had we proceeded on the ordinary timeline. This is our revised timeline. Today we're updating and making you aware of some changes. I also want to highlight April 30th, which is a very significant date. It's a significant date because it is the first of 3 what are referred to as revenue look-back periods. That will predominantly involve myself and the superintendent. And that is, and I'll go into that in depth later on in the presentation, but it's a significant date. May 7th is what I propose as our first budget workshop after this evening. That will be an actual presentation of the budget. This will be a complete budget and budget balanced, and now proposed for May 7th at 6 p.m. So for the first time, it'll be a look at the entire budget, and as I mentioned, a budget balance. So it will include, the balanced budget. Jared, do you know how I go backwards? On the 12th, we hope to actually have a final budget approved at that regular meeting. And this is where it starts to get a little fuzzy. Right now, all we have is not earlier than dates established by the state. What we know is that we cannot have a budget hearing earlier than June 2nd. And if we back off that date, 7 days from the budget hearing is generally when we vote. That would provide us with an actual vote on June 9th. But both of those days at this point are tentative, so there's no established time frame. But based off of all those dates is what we set up a revised budget timeline for the preparation of our budget. COVID-19 had a significant impact on our state budget, as all of you are, I think, aware. It had a significant impact in that at one point our state budget was relatively balanced, and there was a release of the governor's proposal. But significant happenings in terms of expenditures and revenues. It drove our expenditures at the state level up, and it crashed our revenues. So as you created a significant gap. And the question is not only how much is that gap, but how that gap will be filled. Because eventually the expenditures and revenues have to be balanced. I think this cartoon that I'm about to share kind of illustrates one of the uncertainties that exists. I think this cartoon illustrates, certainly makes a point, but particular point I want you to extract from this is that no one really knows the distance to the ground of our little parachuter here. And that distance is going to have a significant impact on the size of the state's budget gap. State look back periods that I mentioned. For the first time since I've certainly been a business official, the governor has the capability in his budget office to look back at several points in time, a total of 3 times during this period, and actually adjust our aid and also to his other departments throughout the state of New York, and adjust actually what we anticipate as state aid. So the first look back period is this year, and it involves the period February 1st through April 30th. And you'll notice on the timeline that I had identified earlier, that April 30th date will be the first look back period closure, and give us somewhat of an indication on whether or not he's going to adjust what we anticipate as state aid for this year. There's a second look back period that is on June 30th. And then again, there's a third look back period, and that will end December 30th. We don't even know clearly what the state will adjust, whether it will be the first 2 look back periods will adjust anticipated revenues for this year, the 1920 school year, or whether they'll just move those adjustments forward and just take it from state aid on the anticipated budget for 2021. So even that is up in the air. But nonetheless, these are periods in time which our state aid can be adjusted, and we would anticipate that adjustment would be downward.
And Ms. Berry is asking for the volume up a little if possible.
What's that? Speak up? Okay. So with regards to our revenue forecast breakdown, one of the issues I wanted to share with you, I've shared this slide with you before, but I just want to really reinforce the fact that one of the things we're very dependent upon and why state aid is so important is because we depend not only on our tax levy, but we also have a significant part of our revenues is associated with state aid. So any reduction in state aid has an enormous impact on our overall revenue stream within the district. Now, it also has an impact in that we don't get it all at once. So these look back periods can impact what we anticipate in 1920. So what we have actually received, and we have received a considerable amount, but it still is only 68% of what we anticipate receiving for the 1920 school year. So if in fact there is an adjustment, we could impact the 1920 or this year's due to us. So we have a little bit over $8 million we anticipate receiving before we close this fiscal year. So if there is an adjustment in the amount based on the 2 look-back periods that are in this fiscal year, it can impact our ability to balance our budget this 1920, not only 2021. With regard to pre and post-COVID state aid, in our preparation of our budget for next year, when we left the pre-COVID, we had anticipated the state aid to be the amount, as I have indicated here. See my little arrow. That was the governor's proposal. We had hoped that eventually there would actually be generally on any particular year, the governor's proposal is generally conservative. Unfortunately, given the COVID-19, the actual budget that was approved actually dropped us significantly down to the tune of approximately $658,000 from the governor's proposal, which again was a conservative number. The concern, even with that number, is that that number is offset by federal money, which was in the CARES Act. That is concerning because that goes away in the 2021-22 unless there is a federal response, which you are aware is under discussions now, but we don't know the magnitude of that. So even to get us up back, say, once that federal money is removed, the state would have to increase on an aggregate level state aid to school districts from the 2021 to the 21-22 school year, absent CARES federal money, to the tune of approximately $1 billion, which is approximately the annual increase that they generally have. And that would only get us to what we would anticipate this year. Now, some recent state aid remarks, which are very concerning, and this was from the rural schools, is that this afternoon, Governor Cuomo, as you are aware, or you may be aware, went down to DC to meet with the president and expressed the need for federal assistance to states, in addition to talk about the role that they take in testing. Prior to that meeting, he indicated that absence any federal assistance, the potential cut to state aid could amount to 50%. Now, knowing that we have a huge amount of our revenues associated with state aid, that would absolutely cripple us, as well as many school districts in New York State. Now, the governor did, yesterday, he did moderate those initial claims of cutting state aid 50% down to a figure of 20% cut, absence any federal assistance, but that still is, of course, extremely alarming. The other thing is, I just thought I'd share, and this fluctuates from day to day, is that he has no plan prepared to reopen school buildings at this time of year. I don't know if that's an indication that they will not be. But he has not committed to not opening them. Has no plan at this time to reopen them. District estimated expenditures, just a reflection. You've seen this slide before, but I just want to remind everyone, we generally break our budget into three components. Admin, program, as we would expect, would be 77%, the lion's share of our budget. And then capital, looking at it a little differently, is one of the components that we need to be aware of is in our overall budget, salaries account for approximately 43% of our expenditures, benefits for approximately 34%, debt, and then all the other is only 18%. Now, we are fortunate in that our fiscal stress right now, as measured by the comptroller, as I shared earlier, we are relatively healthy, very healthy, in terms of their assessment. We can anticipate, absent a significant amount of state aid, the fiscal condition of the district will deteriorate over the next year or so considerably. So we are certainly hopeful that those discussions with the president went well. Now, one of the things we will turn to during this period, of course, is fund balance and how we sit in relationship to other school districts. Again, one of the comptroller's indicators. So in relationship to other schools throughout the state, our unassigned fund balance is relatively even with all schools, down from North Country schools. Total fund balance, again, you can see in relationship to all schools and in relationship to North Country schools. And our fund balance, in terms of the components of it, are assigned, restricted, and unassigned as of June 30th, 2019. The essential challenges facing the school district are certainly the same. In addition to it, of course, we have state aid now, becomes a very questionable amount. And of course, the full impact of the COVID-19 is yet to be determined. On our expenditure side, we still have negotiated salary increases. The PAT is in negotiations. We have the teacher retirement system contribution increases. One of the concerns, of course, with the deterioration of the stock market is that obviously the retirement system is dependent upon the returns within the stock market, so we can anticipate that the Fed does not rebound, that we can anticipate a significant increase both in the ERS and TRS contribution rates in the following year in all likelihood. Our capital project debt service, both ours and the BOCES capital project. And then, of course, unplanned expenditures. And then, of course, one of those unanticipated expenditures, the COVID-19 impact, how long that's going to be and how it extends not only into this year, but also into potentially next year. In terms of our operating budget impact estimates for the 19-20 school year, we've had some expenditure decreases that we are anticipating. And again, some of these decreases will be determined on the length of period of impact. So our bus runs, we haven't had to make 3 runs. We're making 1 run around the district as opposed to an entire, 4 different runs. That's an estimated savings, approximately $11,000 per month in terms of fuel. Sports trips and field trips, if we continue to remain out until the remainder of the school year, we anticipate approximate savings of about $12,000. Again, if we remain out the balance of the year, we have spring coaching. The stipend that exists that we've encumbered is approximately $37,880. We have substitutes both with PAT and CSCA, since we are out now and we are not paying substitutes. We have testing related costs that we don't anticipate having this spring. We do, however, have some anticipated expenditure increases. We're still capturing some of these. We have had some PPE and cleaning supplies. Of course, there's a big question about that, how much more we have to expend, again, impacted by what we're able to get. We have been trying to get some additional stuff, but quite frankly, it's difficult to get some of the items. In addition, connectivity, approximately $3,000 per month to expand our access to students. Some revised initial budget parameters that we discussed earlier. We certainly can anticipate the commitment of additional fund balance. So initially we had committed to the use of approximately $500,000. I would certainly anticipate that we will be committing more to next year. I would assume that, and this is something the board will need to provide guidance, is that you wish to remain going out at the tax cap and not below the tax cap and not above the tax cap. And the general direction and strategy has, I think, changed. There are no longer minor reductions through attrition and trimming. There will be reductions in all likelihood to programs and operations. We anticipate the elimination of nearly all of the enhancements that were requested. We do, however, anticipate a multi-year approach. Expenditures under examination. This is a very comprehensive list, and it just means to express that everything will be examined. Administrative expenditures will be examined. Teaching positions will be examined. It's not restricted merely to teaching. It will also be looking at counseling, psychologists, nursing, and teaching assistant positions. CSCA positions will be examined. That'll be clerical, custodial, teaching aides, monitors, and transportation. Sports and field trips, new and old programs, operations, maintenance, and transportation. And just in case something wasn't caught in the bullets above, other. All in an effort to try to establish, as we always do, try to, under these troubling times, find the right balance between the taxpayer, programs, and sustainability. Formal part of the presentation is now concluded. It's open for questions and comments. With the next budget workshop, number 6, scheduled for May 7th at 6 p.m.
Do we have any questions for Randy? Okay, thank you, Randy.
Is ours still on too?
As
Bonnie, just
May 7th? Yes.
Just so you know, also, I'll be sending out a letter tonight to you as well as to PAT. It was a letter, it was constructed between the combination of superintendents and also my association, NISCUS, imploring our senators about the next $500 billion round of the allocation of resources to help school districts not have to make these tough decisions. So
Okay, good, excellent.
I'll share with the board and the email address if you care to also to send it on to our senators.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Bonnie, I had a question for Randy. The chat function wasn't working though for me. Can you just explain the connectivity part? And was that 3,000 a week or 3,000 a month?
That was 3,000 a week. We have labor costs associated with the 3 buses that are out parked in our they're manned. They're not sitting out idle. So there are labor costs associated with that. I know that I think the intent is to take a look at the usage, determine whether or not they're being utilized. Want to continue with those. The predominant cost is labor.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving on, we've got 9 here from the Peru Association of Teachers. Mr. Marino.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
In the interest of time, PAT is going to waive their time to talk tonight. So we just want to thank the board for their support and everything that the teachers are all that we're doing, all that we're working hard to do to help our students.
Thank you. And we certainly appreciate what everyone is doing. It's an amazing effort. So thank you very much. Okay, consent agenda 10, and it is A through K. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Mr. LaFountain. Second, Mrs. Mitchell. Are there any questions on A through K? Okay, all in favor? I think I have everyone in favor. I wish we could get all the board on one row. That way I'd be able to see that. Okay, everyone's in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion is carried. Consent agenda 10A through K. On consent agenda 11, I would like to look at A through G first. Do I have a motion for A through G? Because we have some discussion on H as it's in the addenda too. So a motion for A through G. Mrs. Morgan, motion. Second. Mrs. Mitchell, second. Any questions on A through G? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and as we take a look at H, the board recognizes that the executive orders automatically supersede any of our board policies, which are in conflict with some of our, of our board policies. So with this resolution, we are just documenting that we acknowledge that there some, the executive orders do supersede some of the board policies and practices, et cetera, that we have in hand. We had a couple of questions on it. Mr. Peters and I had some questions, and we asked Dr. Palmer to send it to Jackie. And a couple of the concerns that we had, Jackie resolved with the information on 11H. Paragraph 1 is the same. Paragraph 2, there were some all-encompassing words in there, like all policies, 100% resume normal. I'm not so sure we'll ever have resume normal. So we asked that those couple of pieces be taken out. And then the third paragraph, just that the superintendent can take any direct actions consistent with the resolutions. That is, if he has to do something as he had to do on March 18th with executive order, and then continuing on, that the superintendent has that authority to continue to put things in motion, carrying out the executive orders. Are there any questions on H or anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to accept H as amended in the revised 11H in the addenda? Okay, is that, I'm trying to look at times and so on. Now I have a motion by Cindy and a second by Linda. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, now we go to 12A, and there's an addition on the addenda, 12 to 12C. Do I have a motion for 12A through C?
Sherry, could you put?
I'm sorry, Sherry, I didn't hear you.
I was just
Motion,
asking.
Mitchell? Motion, Mrs. Mitchell, second. Mr. Peters, second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And then we are on to 13. The discussion of time for our meeting on Thursday morning to vote on the board candidates for BOCES board and the BOCES budget. Are we still on for 7:30? Do I have a motion to accept 7:30?
Is that on
Okay, Mr. Peters said 7:30 is okay. Mr. Thurber seconded 7:30. Okay, I guess we still go with 7:30. So all in favor? Excuse me? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, 7:30 on Thursday morning. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
In relation to the 7:30 meeting, I would ask the board if we could have an executive session following that vote for the BOCES concerning relations with personnel concerning negotiations.
That's right. Okay. So do we need to just add that on the agenda, correct?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the board's aware. It could be 20 minutes, half hour. I just did not want to blindside the board.
Okay, good. We're all okay with 7:30 in the morning? You're making me get up, okay? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion, Mr. Peters, second, Mrs. Mitchell. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much, everyone. I think it was not bad. There were a couple of times when things were in and out. Mrs. Rabidou's presentation and Mr. Sapp's presentation, I did not get on the full screen, so I'll have to figure out with Jared why I couldn't get that on the full screen. Anybody else had any issues or anything that we need to cover with the technology? Okay, good. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared.
Yes, thank you, Jared, very much.
Jared,
We
why don't
appreciate Jared and your help. Thank you.
Any idea why Shannon's, I didn't see Shannon's.
No.